Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. This week, we'll be talking about a team that should not have won the game. They had 3 turnovers and 2 possessions, but Washington could not take advantage of it. When we come back, we're going to take the gloves off, put the kids to bed. We'll be back in a minute.
I'm very frustrated because we got too many good football players to not be better than what we are right now. But your record tells everybody what you are. That's what we are. We're a 2-3 football team right now.
You know, when you're down in the red zone, you got points on the board, you can't give the other team the ball. And then, backed up, 3rd down, awful decision. I was trying to lay it over this guy's head, and he was right there. I threw it right to him. So, and then, putting the defense in a bad spot. So, other than those 2 plays, I thought we moved the ball pretty well as an offense. But again, those 2 decisions killed us.
Big plays like that, they swing the momentum a lot. So going to the locker room, we were really pushing to, get up. We're trying to get everyone's mood back up and really get the momentum back going our way. We had the ball going to the second half, so we were, ready to go for that.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I can't speak on the entire defense because there's a whole lot of stuff on the back end that I just don't understand coverage-wise. So I can really only speak from my point of view. It's frustrating. We need to rush better. We need to be more stout in the run game. Great thing about this league is there's another opportunity next week, but this is going to sting for a little bit. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of hype around this defensive line, and we're tremendously talented. And when it doesn't go our way, I think we need to look at ourselves and say, hey, listen, people have put faith and trust in us. Let's live up to that. Just playing the game back in my mind, I think there are a few plays that, changed the entire momentum of the game that didn't go our way, that could have. I think we beat ourselves in a lot of ways. And so those are the ones that are tough to get over because, you do them to yourselves.
I just feel like we gotta stop giving up so much, like giving people gifts.
We just trying to make a play. We wasn't expecting them to go Hail Mary there. We a regular football team will try to get a little yards, then kick a field goal, but they caught us in the right. They did the right play at the right time.
Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. Here we talk about good things and bad things. Last week we were talking about a team that won a game that they should not have won. This week we're talking about a team that had 3 turnovers in the other team's first 2 possessions and did not take advantage of it. The Washington football team. Now there's a lot of blame that you can go around and spread it if you want to. But here I got enough that I got Rev here. Mr. Milton. How are you doing? And then we got the GM, we got the Donna, we got the Mike. We've been so mad, we've been arguing with each other before the show come on. So let's talk about it, guys. When you get, and Donna, I'm going to have to go with the quarterback first. That's the leader. Okay, last week we said he came back and did well in the second half. This time he was given 2 or 3 opportunities, did not take advantage of them the way I think they should. And I can't blame the offensive line because I think this is one of the better games the offensive line played. So now, is this what we expect from Heineke, or is this just an aberration?
Well, Tony, what he said earlier about that beyond the 2 picks that he thought that the offense moved the ball, but I have to disagree with him because I don't think the offense played well. You cannot afford to turn over the ball twice and give it back to the opponent team. And he didn't have any touchdowns. He was 20 for 41 for 200 and some yards. And the 2 picks, and again, no touchdowns. So when you have that kind of production, which is not good, and I saw a lot of things where he was throwing short balls, overthrown balls. He wasn't hitting his targets like he did in that Atlanta game. So to me, he had not one of his better out productions in that game against the Saints. I thought that he struggled overall, and the offense did too. So I gave him a C minus because I didn't think that he was really productive. And with those 2 interceptions, which are killers, Tony. And we talked about the offensive line, and I know that you thought that the offensive line played well, Tony, but I thought that they struggled too. And I know that they got hit with some injuries, but what do you all tell me? The next man up, and that's what happened. But I didn't think that they blocked well overall, and I didn't think that their production was great as it was the week before. So I gave them a C minus also.
Well, you know what, Donna, those glasses you were telling me to put on last week, you need binoculars. Because I'm going to tell you what.
Look, Tony,
my
eyesight was perfect.
Oh, no, I don't know what game you were looking at. But their offensive line, this is one of their better games. They ran the ball pretty well. They did have some opportunities that they gave up good pass rushes to the other team. But at the same time, overall, and you got 2 starters out, I thought they did pretty well. And you have your quarterback that took away 2 scores because he 2 interceptions. So this offensive line to me was a lot better. And you can't say the whole offense was bad just because the quarterback was bad. I mean,
Tony, yes, because they were in the red zone at least 4 times, and they could not punch it in for a touchdown. So you can't get in the red zone and not get into the end zone as many times as they were there. And I know 2 of those were the picks by Heineke, but still, I think that the whole production of the offense in general didn't do a good job.
Well, you know, I'm going to go right to my man, Milt. Now, the running backs, Milt, to me, I gave the running backs a B because I thought they did well. I even looked, they did some good blitz pickup as well. So tell me what you thought about the running back. Now, Donna's already dogged the quarterback and gave him a better grade than he deserved.
I wouldn't be giving the running backs a B.
But then she takes the offensive line down with her. See, that's the way she followed the hole and pulled them on down with her. So you tell me, I thought the running backs did as well as they could do.
Tony, I gave him a B plus. I thought the running backs did well too. I said last week, and I'll say it again this week, I don't think that the offensive script is written for a lot of running. I just don't see it. Haven't seen it over the whole season. So to his credit, Antonio Gibson, who had 60 yards, 72 all-purpose yards, he scored twice. That's a good day in most worlds. But we still at this point haven't determined what kind of team, what is our pedigree? What is our DNA? What do we do? Do we run? Do we pass? We don't know what that is yet. And, you know, to Donna's point and to your point, Tony, as the field position was horrible for us all day long. It was a perfect storm for New Orleans. They didn't have to play that much of the field. So we were defaulting on making mistakes, and we did just that. The turnovers killed us. But I thought the running game, and even this week, this second week in a row, Patterson's getting to get a few more carries. I'd like to not see him run between the tackles, since his marquee is, you know, he can turn it outside and take it upfield too. So hopefully we can get some more looks in the running back from him in the weeks to come.
Hey, Gary, I know I jumped over receivers and I should have said next, but I wanted to make sure I made that point with the offensive line because I thought the running backs looked great, but the wide receivers have been the best thing on offense this whole year. They just continue to get better. So then you add in what they did do with what the quarterback did not do. I gave the wide receivers a B or B plus as well.
Yeah, I gave them a B minus mostly because they lost the football game. You know, if they won the football game, quite honestly, I'd have given them a B plus. But when you lose, that means you could have did something a little better to help them win the football game. That's the way I just look at things. And you know, at some point in time, Terry is not always going to have that 100-yard game. That's just the nature of the NFL. That does not happen every week. And so when that doesn't happen, you need somebody to step up. Now, number one, he did step up. He had a good game at the end of the day. He came in and, you know, besides just being a special team guy, he's also starting to show himself as a wide receiver as well, being able to come in and make plays when plays need to be made. Mm-hmm. That was a nice sign. But I give him a B minus mostly because they just lost the football game. But they scored 22 points, Tony, and we both know what that means. They scored 22.
Yeah.
Defense is supposed to keep them at 17. At the end of the day.
Tony, can I?
You didn't have to be
exact on
not
that.
today.
Can I get in here on this offensive line for a second? I'm really surprised that they actually brought out Chase Rouillet. as part of the press conference. I thought he had one of the worst games I've seen in a long time. Did you see all those snaps off to the right? Now, I am not a football player, but I started keeping track of one after the other, including the one that was at his ankles that he almost was almost a safety. He was snapping the ball. He was getting it up over his right shoulder almost every time. Now, if this is a kid without a strong arm and you lose a second, think about that. The ball comes into you. I was watching Winston. It was coming right in, right at his waist. He could see the line of scrimmage. The ball came in. He could get the ball and survey the line and stay on play, stay on script. But every time Chase Rouillet snapped that ball, 40% of the time it was over his shoulder to the right. And that means he's got to go up like this. He's got to come back down. He's got to survey the line of scrimmage again. And then he's got to make his read and his throw. So that is almost 1 full second every time Rouillet snapped that ball errantly that he was behind schedule. That was the problem with this game. I don't know what Rouillet was doing, but the fact they brought him out at the press conference and no one asked him that question, what was wrong with you today? Why couldn't you get it in his chest every time? That really bothered me.
But it wasn't just him, Mike. It was that offensive line across the board.
Yeah.
Tony, about the running back.
Not according to Tony.
Tony, the running back position, Milton gave him a B plus. You gave them a B. But the thing about it is, if you watch Antonio Gibson run that ball, it was like he was stumbling. It's almost like he doesn't hit the hole and go for it. He hesitates so much. And it has nothing to do with the offensive line. It has to do with his running. I don't know if he's that true back that they're looking for. Patterson, to me, like Milton said, you're putting him in a little bit more. And to me, they should have left him in because he was productive when he was in.
No
B plus though.
But I mean, how can you say that these guys, it's not about how you look, Donna. This is not a fashion show. Now, they can look good and get no yards like they've been doing the last 5 or 6 years. We haven't.
At least they know how to walk the runway.
Clinton Porter's left. So I'll tell you what, I don't care how those boys run hard. They run when there's holes and there's not holes there. I can't go with you on them. Those running backs work hard. But I can tell you one thing, Mike, did it make a difference, the tight end? It looked like the tight ends picked up their game a little bit this week. I was kind of really disappointed with them last week, but the tight ends, they did some good things, blocking and catching wise.
Yeah, I mean, I give the tight ends a fairly good grade. I'm going to give them a C plus because I'm just really in a bad mood this week, along with every other Washington fan. As you can tell, I mean, you heard, I'm just in a horrible mood. I mean, when I got home last night after 3 hours of traffic coming from that game, those guys barely showed up yesterday. Anyway, I did watch rookie tight end John Bates, and he is a heck of a blocker. There was one play where he blew up the whole left side of the Saints defensive line. It was almost like a bowling ball knocking down pins. I mean, that's the reason he was the second best blocking tight end coming out of college. He can really block. He's big too. He's like 6'5", 6'6". Ricky Jones-Seals, I mean, he had a good game. He caught 5 of 8 targets for 41 yards, had an 8.2 average. His longest was 16 on that sweet sideline route. He's got, I mean, obviously he's got the hands of a wide receiver. He's got some speed. Heineke seems to really like him. Samus Reyes was in the game. He made his regular season debut, but he was not much of a factor. And then we'll talk about the secondary later, but it's going to be one of the first F grades ever given.
I tell you what, I'm gonna have to agree with you. So we have to take a break now so we can clean our shoes off because we are.
Mike's throwing up
talking
over there.
A lot of stuff today. And so when we come back, we'll talk a little about that defense. But I'm gonna tell you fans one thing: the defense did play better, and I gave them better grades than I have been given. Now a lot of people are not happy because they say this defense is supposed to be one of the best in the league. The way they play, and they may not be playing the way we think they are, but they may be playing as one of the best because the defensive lines aren't that great right now. There's only 4 or 5 really good ones. We'll be back in a minute and explain that. You know, throughout the country, everyone's been talking about this defense, and they're saying it's not as good as it should be. They're saying this Washington defense with 4 number 1 draft choice starting should be dominating. Well, Sunday, we started to see that starting to happen. And Mr. Payne, Deron, has been playing. I'm going to call him by his first name because You only need to know his first name because he's bringing a little pain up in there. He's doing a very good job is what he's doing. I look at my whole defensive line guy, and I look at Donna. She got her hand on her cheek, so I know she disagrees. But this is the first time I got to give my defensive line at least a B. Because you know what, they had some plays that weren't that great, but they made a lot of plays too. They had, if you think about it, and see, a lot of you don't watch the game the way I do. The first two pass rushes, your guy was right there on it. Fine, Chase was. So I look at that's something we haven't seen. They did not have any turnovers during the other games that they played, but they had 3 within the first 2 possessions with the Saints, and that they were caused by our linemen. So tell me why you guys think we shouldn't give them at least a B or B plus.
Because we lost.
And they gave up 33 points.
See, I hadn't thought about that. That's all.
And they gave up 33 points. Tony, you
they didn't give up. Wait a minute. Come on. Now that one at the end of the
Tony,
half.
3 blown assignments. I know Mike is going to talk about the secondary, but a 72-yard blown assignment because people don't know who got who. Then they give up the one before, just before the half, a Hail Mary where they're talking about, well, we didn't know that they were going to go for that one. You had 5 guys out there, Tony, 5 guys, and they didn't even get up on their tiptoes to try to knock it down. Then you had the one that Callaway where he was wide open for a touchdown. It starts with the line not getting enough pressure, but
Donna,
Tony, Chase Young got the sack. He forced the fumble. Payne is playing better, but the defensive line is not playing a B plus at this point yet.
Can I say about Daron Payne?
That was all the way across.
Tony, Daron Payne is looking for a big contract, just like Jonathan Allen. Remember, next year, they're going to go with an option on him, and it's going to be the same thing with Allen. He's a year behind Allen, so he's looking for big bucks, Tony. Now, the question is, are you going to pay him big bucks like Jonathan Allen next year?
Well, no, Jonathan Allen they may not be the one getting paid.
Oh, he got paid already. He got paid. Allen,
yeah, but I mean, when they start renegotiating these contracts, they got to look at the production. Ioannidis, to me, is the second best lineman on that team. And right now, he may be playing the best. Daron has really come on in the last few weeks. Now, Allen, I haven't heard his name a lot. Chase, they saying he got his first, what game was that? He got his first sack, okay? And Sweat, I don't know if he's starting every game or somebody else is in there. I'm going to just call it like I said. But overall, all that crap Donna was talking, first she said the defensive backs didn't cover. So that means they were running by themselves. So how is that the lineman's fault?
Hey, Tony, but Ioannidis said, he said that it's been so much hype as far as the defense. Even Ioannidis said that they need to pick it up and they need to play better. Defensive lineman said that.
Tony, I think what's confusing them all, Tony, because I see Gary can't talk because he's still over there laughing. I think the problem is it's such a high grade, given the lack of productivity. It's such a high grade. B plus is, I mean, I've seen you be a little more vicious than that, but a B plus is pretty gratuitous, I think, for where we are right now.
But you know what? If you take a look back, I look at better conditioning, better hustle. I'm looking at making plays, putting pressure, but I look on the other side of the ball and see that they're getting beat at the line of scrimmage sometimes. As I said, not playing on the other team's side of the ball enough for me. But then I have to also look at, I got linebackers behind me. I also had guys behind me that never even got an interception this year or turnover. So therefore, I got to look, it can't just be the line. So I try to break it up and look at what they're doing and individually how they're improving. So I feel that they deserve it. But then I took it to linebackers. They've been beat on the slant every time this year. I haven't seen them meet someone in the hole and just crack them and make them drop the ball. I haven't seen that. And Donna even admitted they were wrong, defensive backs wrong, but she said they were wrong because of the defensive line.
But Tony, no, but the thing about it is they need to shake up that whole back seven, because that back seven is not working. Whatever they've done for these last 5 games has not produced into anything new. They're still getting coverage, they're lost in the coverage. This guy don't know what the other one is doing. They need to shake it up, whether it's the scheme, whether it is to take some players out personnel, whether it's to shift it around, putting some other people, maybe Fulton back at his position, changing the slot and all of that, because the back seven is a disaster right now.
Are we talking about the DBs now, or we talking about the lines? Because I got a whole lot of.
Can you all?
You know what? Hey, Milk. Yeah. You always talk about it, but then she always throw the line in and
they're part of the defense.
The defensive line, they get honorable mention on all of her comments. All of them get honorable mention on all.
Hey, Milk, they're part of the defense.
What were they playing yesterday?
Thank you, Mike.
They were playing two linebackers most of the game. What was that all about? Two linebackers.
They've gone to more nickel. They've gone to more nickel than they have.
So you bring up Landon Collins in the box, and everybody runs by him.
Well, they don't have to run by him too long. His eyes stay in the backfield.
Oh no, Collins was on the line most of the day, but everybody was running by him.
Exactly.
What would you say, G?
The statement people make, he ain't worth a nickel. They say that all the time. So that tell you right now what that nickel defense is doing right now. Come on, guys.
It hadn't been productive. I don't know.
Tony is seeing soup. You know what I'm saying? The line, he's been so starving for the defense to play good that he got a taste of soup, and he thought it was the best thing ever because they've been starving, so he got a taste of soup.
He ain't got to the meat yet.
I thought I was eating steak.
He thought it was.
I'm supposed to be filet, baby. Not soup. That's the starter.
You know what? You do have to, and you guys got to admit now. Okay, what about 3 turnovers in the 2 turnovers in the first 3 possessions?
I agree.
Tony, you're stumbling, Tony.
And then what did our offense do? Go out and get 3 points each of them.
Yeah, that was another thing. Should have been getting touchdown.
When you look at this defense for the 5 games.
How many points do we have?
22.
I think you had somewhere 16,
we scored
22
15. Points, Tony. And a lot of those were field goals. And we still scored 22 points. What happened to the Magic 17?
But you didn't take the other team's heart.
They would have ran you out of town, Tony, if you guys gave up that kind of points every game. They would have ran you guys out of town.
The defense didn't take their heart.
I'm going back on my grades on the receiver.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Donna made a mistake on the quarterback and the receiver. They were all terrible. So I'm going.
I gave them a C-.
I'm going to tell you what. We are having a little fun here, but at the same time, you have to look at progress when you see it. And we have seen some progress in all areas of the team, to tell you the truth. If you think about the grades we were given a couple of weeks ago, guys, we were giving out B's and C minuses and everything.
But a B?
The only one got a B.
Tony? How do I get a B?
I'm still giving out C minuses, Tony.
How do I get a B?
You know what? I'm gonna get a number so the fans can call in.
I guess what you're saying. I guess you're trying to say the other team is like Jordan, and it's okay to give up 33 because it's Jordan. Jordan usually gets 50.
Can I get in on the secondary just a second before we go out?
Come on.
Because Donna did take them to task, and I thought she did a pretty adequate job of pretty much describing what was a debacle. Okay. But basically, I thought they were abysmal. I don't think it gets any worse than Sunday. Another opponent receiver running free for a 72-yard touchdown pass from Winston. And one of those broken plays in every single game this season. I mean, Deontay Harris, where was the corner on that play? Collins was trailing the play. Where was the corner? There wasn't even a corner anywhere near him. William Jackson, I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, he's just not worth the money. I'm sorry. Sit him down. I mean, I will take anybody other than William Jackson right now. Collins, unless
Mike, you were high on him at the beginning of the season. You said we got.
Yes, I was, and I apologize. I apologize. And Landon Collins, unless you're going to play him exclusively in the box in that whatever that 3 safety set they were doing, put him on the bench because DeShazer Everett was far better than he was last year. Now he's got this whole moniker now because he's too special. He's too wonderful on special teams that they don't want to put him in. They don't want to start him. Put DeShazer Everett in there. And where's Jeremy Reeves? He's on the practice squad. I mean, he elevated that defense last year to 4th among all the NFL teams. Why don't you bring him in? And on the Kamara 23-yard run right up the middle, where was the secondary? Were they over drinking Gatorade on the bench? Come on. There was a St. Juice sighting, one sighting in the game. He had a nice pass breakup, and I'm really sorry that I dissed him early in the year because he's big and he's fast. Get that kid in the game. You may as well, because the team's 2 and 3. You only have a 24% chance of going to the playoffs. If they were 3 and 2, maybe 49% chance of going to the playoffs. This team's going nowhere. It's going nowhere.
What's your score?
Take a deep breath, Mike.
What's your grade, Mike? Hey,
Get some color back in your face.
My grade is an F. An F. An F.
You're right.
I'm gonna have to take a break right now so I can go get a paper bag and let Mike breathe. And
Mike,
he went off on that one, man. I tell you what. But you know what, Mike? You hit some very good points there, and we'll talk about that a little bit more because one thing about it, I'm joking with you, but at the same time, you're right. Linebackers are also, whenever a defensive back have to make the tackle, but then on a pass reception, when there's no defensive backs even in the area, it's schematically is something wrong with that system. I'm gonna tell you, there's no reason that you can see a running back, he go 41 yards and not get touched. That's unheard of in games. So I understand what you guys are saying, but when we get back, let's talk about the one facet of the team that we always said didn't do anything, but special teams now is keeping them in the game. Special teams is helping them, and that's even without the wide receivers. Oh, I said it again. We'll be back in the boat. Now, Mike, just breathe a little slower in the bag. You'll be all right in a few minutes, man. Just breathe, let it go. But you know, we've been pretty unhappy with the different facets of this team, and likely so we should be because they haven't all played well during these previous games, but I see a little light. But one facet that has played well, and I like it because all the other years, Mike would pick the same people and everything on special teams, but now I see special teams that not only are they stopping the other special teams, they're making plays. To me, they've been the most consistent facet of this team. Milt, tell me about it.
Tony,
remember you, Reverend. Show me.
Tony, you're exactly right. I gave him a B+ this week. Tressway has been extremely consistent. I think as long as kick on Sunday was 56 yarder, and he was averaging about 53 yards a kick. So that's wonderful. 2 names I give you: Tressway, DeAndre Carter. DeAndre Carter is a returner who is looking to go to the house every time he touches the ball. And that's refreshing to see because I don't think we've had that before. And also, too, the kick coverage has been consistent this year. So you're right. A brighter spot in our team this year, but I think, you know, it would help to get a W. We can't just keep highlighting the special teams every week and say we're in a good place. And not
they're
satisfied.
doing their part, Milt. They're doing their part to get that W. It's not their reason. Look at some of the other teams that expect their special teams to bring. Kansas City, the Baltimore, the different teams that expect their special teams, as we did when we were going to the Super Bowl. We expected them to make plays.
And I remember those well. I mean, you throw out a Brian Mitchell, you throw out a Mike Nelms, those participants, if you will. One thing I will say about our special teams this year, and this was reflected in the draft and the people that we brought in. Coach Rivera went after some specific folks that were more geared toward playing special teams. And I think that's because he puts an importance on that. Even if as you see DeAndre Carter come in here, but there are folks who can cover. There are folks who know how to carry it back too. So I think we're in a good place. We're probably not at the Baltimore, Kansas City level yet. But I think we're well on our way. We've got to be a respected special team across the league.
Well, we have won the 2 games they've won without the special teams.
Without the special teams.
without them doing well.
Yeah. Well,
We only
Think
won
back
2
now.
games, guys.
one thing, let me just make
But
this
he
as a
act
little,
like this is a essay question. Just answer the question, man. You don't have to write anything. This is just a yes or no.
no, I
Multiple
want to,
choice.
I want to make one emphasis. I'm looking at the special team consistency. They've been there since day one. And so I'm going to go with consistency. One thing I
That
did
wasn't the
see.
question.
Excuse
Rev.
me, I don't think
told
so.
you you're getting just like us. You're not telling the truth for us. I didn't ask you.
Oh,
I asked you would they have won those games without that special team?
No.
My answer would be no, they would not have. They would, and that would just speak to the consistency piece. But no, they would not have. I think special teams making big time contribution.
May I say one thing? Hopkins missed a field goal and got a second chance to win a game. That's one game they won and should have lost. Then Hopkins missed 2 extra points and needed Heineke to bring him from behind to win that game. They're almost 0-5. And that's your special teams. That's your
I wish
special
you hadn't
teams.
started talking about Donna's cousin like that.
What?
Oh, Mike, I'm telling you, that's
Extra points.
You said it's
and
only
field
2.
goals
You
on
didn't
Sunday.
mention Hopkins' name. Did they cut him last night?
we don't know if he's still on the team.
No, but they signed a kicker on the practice squad, and then
Unlike the defense, he did make his extra points and all his field goals.
That
on
is true.
Sunday. And Milton did not mention that. Any other time, if Hopkins would have missed, he would have called him out. But when he makes the field goals and the extra points, which y'all say he did his job, but give him the credit for that on Sunday because he did make all his field goals.
What does he get paid for, Donna?
He's a kicker.
But
I'm just saying, you didn't mention his name with Carter. You didn't mention his name with Tressway. He was part of the special teams, Milton.
Let me say this. As a homer, I am a Dustin Hopkins fan. I am, truly. But I got to call it like I see it. I can't let family members play into this. I got to call it like I see it.
Well, you didn't call it yesterday.
He is struggling this. He is struggling this year, and the only reason he's still on this team right now is because Coach Ron Rivera.
Milton, if you say that, a whole bunch of those defensive players shouldn't be on the team.
Tony, she went back to the defense.
I know. Why you?
It's just so bad.
What did the line do? The line didn't help.
Tony, the defense
Mike started this. Mike started this by going after Dustin.
And then he sits back and watched us go at it.
Okay, I will.
Tony,
He's got
I need
the.
to ask you
Yeah.
a question. Coach Rivera said that this team lacks confidence right now. If they lack confidence right now, how do you work into that, being that, them losing to that game on Sunday, and they've got Kansas City coming up, and then they've got, some more teams on down the stretch. How do you work on the confidence of this team right now if they're lacking it, which Coach Rivera said?
Before you guys answer that, have you fans as well as us on television, have y'all noticed how much Gary been smiling today? He's so happy that he can talk good about the receivers and bad about our. Look how he smiles. I ain't never seen G.
I'm just listening to everything, confidence.
You take a look at it, and you're right. We may have won this game, we may not. But right now, it's time to start just looking at the whole teams and looking at the teams around you, looking at the changing of the guard. Yes, they won last year and they got into the playoffs and they had a win. But this year, they got a chance to move up. And that's not what I'm seeing from the whole team. I'm not seeing that step forward like we all thought we were going to see this year. So what I do, pick out that special team because they haven't been special the last 5 years. Let's be truthful. The last organization didn't feel like that was that important. But now we see that. And I hate to tell you, Carter is probably going to end up having a position on the offense that he's going to be doing something as well.
Probably should. I think he's a football player. I really do. And I think he could excel on either side of the ball. And that's just my 2 cents because I got special teams as well. But I'm like you, Tony. I want to know what Gary's laughing about too. What
I'm just amazed at the things that are coming out of y'all's mouth, quite honestly, especially Mike. I'm like,
especially the grades, right?
Mike is, I don't want him to be in traffic again. Woo.
No, we can't afford it.
One thing about Hopkins that coach did say, Donna was right, is that that ball comes off his foot so fast, and they can count on him really for no kickoff returns. He goes out of the end zone almost every single time, and that is invaluable. And that's one thing that Hopkins does so well. And when you've got a good returner on the other team, you basically negate that altogether because Hopkins has this amazing foot.
Mike,
Hey,
that's
Tony
pretty
and
much
Milton.
every kicker in the league kicks it out of the end zone now.
No,
Mike.
not
Yeah,
everyone.
I
No.
think he can't distinguish him because he kicks it out the end zone. Everybody does that.
Hey, Mike, I got some cousins that kicked in high school can do that. Don't go.
They moved it up so they could kick it out of the end zone so it could speed up the game.
I wouldn't care if he didn't kick it out the end zone as long as he could just make the field goals and the extra point. That's what we're paying him for. Whether he kick it out the end zone or not, who cares?
Did he make those extra points and field goal on Sunday?
He did do that. And again,
That's all I want to
consistency.
know. That's
We
all I
just
want to
need
know,
some.
Milton.
So let me state it like this: if I am going, the reason that the special teams generally don't get that A grade, there's only one name associated with that. That brings the average down. And so, and I don't want to mention that because then it's going to seem like I'm just saying.
Justin, it was Milton the homer.
And that's coming from a homer. But you know what, Coach Ron Rivera, somebody made this comment earlier. I think it was you, Tony. No, Gary. He was talking about when he asked about the team. He said the confidence. Was he really speaking about the team, or was he speaking maybe about himself? Maybe he was saying, I don't have confidence in this team right now.
And I want us to answer that after this next break, because that's something very important for us to take a look at. Because when a coach after 5 games is saying we don't have confidence, that worries me somewhat. And that's what we're going to do during this timeout. See if we got confidence to bring Donna Hopkins back. Because everybody want to get rid of Hopkins, we got to take a look at ours, Donna.
I told the truth. Now you want to get rid of him.
Well, we was threatening to get rid of Donna Hopkins when we went out to the break. So she convinced us to let her ask us the question right now. Now, it's irrelevant because she's still blaming the defensive line because the offense couldn't score. So we'll listen to what she has to say now.
That's
Donna,
because you were still salty because I was telling the truth. But it's time for our segment. I'm right, you're wrong. And the question for the panel today is, Ron Fitzpatrick is on track to return in week 7. Would you keep Taylor Heineke as the quarterback, or would you make a switch? Tony, you're on the clock.
I go with Fitzpatrick. I like him. I've seen him do it time and time again. He's a veteran. Right now, Heineke is niching. He's getting his niche in the scheme, but he's also making young people or young players mistakes. I go back to the big guy, get it back settled, let Heineke grow, but I would go right back with the vet.
Gary, you're on the clock.
Basically, if Heineke wins, he stays in. If he loses, Fitzy comes back.
Mike, you're on the clock.
Yeah, the reality is, Donna, I think you're right. Next year, Fitzpatrick could conceivably, they might sign him for one more year while they get a rookie quarterback in here in the draft. You've got to find out if you've got something in Fitzpatrick. You've got to bring him back as soon as he's ready. Heineke is not the future. I'm sorry.
Milton, you're on the clock.
Early in the year, I think the whole panel knew I was in favor of Fitzpatrick, and I still am. I still like him. But because of where we are right now with Heineke, and we're not just got our toes in the water, we're halfway across the Atlantic. I think I keep Heineke in, and you got to remember this. Fitzpatrick always seemed to do his best work when he was coming in off the bench versus being a starter everywhere he's gone. So I would stay with Heineke.
I agree 100% with you, Milt. I didn't think that Fitzpatrick was the answer for this Washington football team. With Heineke, I think that he gives him a better chance to win. I think that if they are moving the ball, that they keep him as the starter, and Fitzpatrick is coming off the bench. And Tony, it's back in your hands.
Yeah, next commercial, it won't be in your hands. I'll bet you that. Hey, Mike.
Don't get mad, Tony.
Mike, there's a lot of teams, though, they have to make some decisions this week because, and as I said, and to me, once again, we're talking about not being in condition, but it's a lot of injuries around the league right now. A lot of changes, a lot of who's going to play here, where will they play? Give us a few, Mike.
You know, I mean, gosh, I hate to say this about one of the best teams in the NFL, but you know, the Washington football team might have a better chance against the Chiefs than they did against the Saints. If you look at their game against Buffalo, they could not run the ball. They could not run the ball. Now you've lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he's going to be out for a few weeks with an MCL strain. So the Chiefs are going to have a hard time. They're going to have a hard time against Washington if they show up. But I want to talk about Joe Burrow. Think about this kid. He gets a throat contusion. They have to keep him overnight. Now, that is very serious because if the Adam's apple is damaged, you can do serious throat damage to somebody and they can have a very difficult time even talking. So that kind of hit is a very dangerous hit. This kid is under siege. Why in the world they would not have signed at least one bona fide? I know they went after Trent Williams, but they didn't get him. San Francisco retained him. But guys, come on, give the kid some protection. What do you guys think?
Well, it's not just him. I think that's a problem around the league, and people are losing quarterbacks because of that. But it's not just that position; it's all positions, Mike. And it's hard to even get. It's almost like the job situation in America right now. It's a lot of jobs out there, and there's a lot of people out of work, but we can't seem to put them both together. And that's what's happening on football teams. And you just look at the injuries, and you look at the young quarterbacks, young offensive linemen. But I also think it's because of the young and the non-existence of training camp.
Yeah, Juju Schuster is going to be out now. He's out for the season with the Steelers. They were just starting to climb back and things. Is that going to hurt the Steelers?
Oh, Steph, he was just now turn. I'm sorry, guys, don't let me just jump, but he was just turning into that go-to guy, and he really just starting to get the confidence. Now he's gone.
Well, don't feel too bad about him just yet. I mean, no one likes the injuries, but you think about Pittsburgh's history. They always, I mean, Claypool was unheard of at one point. I mean, even though he came out of college, he was a big name, but they always seem to come up with receivers. They usually have, replacements. So I think they'll be fine. I don't know that their production will fall off that much. He will be missed, but they'll still win.
Hey, Tom Brady, thumb injury, people. Now, he says it's not going to hamper the Thursday night game against the Eagles, but I'm telling you, it's a thumb injury. I mean, that knocked out the Seattle quarterback, for 6 weeks? What do you guys think?
Ask Gary that one.
It's Brady. Come on.
Okay.
Really?
Come on, Gary. You know what, Brady, that's got to affect him. Is it his throwing hand, Mike?
Yeah, it is.
So that's got to affect him.
But it may affect his head, G. I mean, you think about it. Brady doesn't like to get hit, and I'm a Brady person too, but at the same time, he may be thinking about that hand and getting it hit.
Brady.
Hey, Tony, we'll see.
Yeah.
And
somebody doubted me when my hammies are hurt. It's me. Doubt me if you want.
Okay.
Hey, Tony, with Russell Wilson out for the week, Geno Smith is going to end up starting for Seattle. How would that change the scope of that team?
I think it's going to expose them. Russell Wilson was the reason they were winning now. Their defense is okay. It's not where it should be. And you have a lot of new people in there. Their offense, if you notice, he's making all the big plays. The one stability they do have, or they have a pretty decent running back when their running backs are well, and they got two of the best wide receivers in the game. Russell is the one that stirred. I think that team is going to be hurt now. I think it's going to hurt them in position to even make the playoffs.
I agree with Tony.
You got a situation with obviously the Jaguars. They've now lost 20 straight, and you have Urban Meyer after a week ago, actually been over a week ago, after they were in Ohio, he went to his bar and had an episode, and he apologized to the team. He said it did not go well. Apparently when he left the room, the players started laughing. Is Urban Meyer toast?
And he did not ride the bus, the plane back with the team, which.
Now that was childish.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what he's thinking. That's the way he played with them college boys. But he has to realize these are a bunch of millionaires. They make more than he does. So you know what? That's not helping the situation they're in. A young coach is doing that, but then we don't know. Maybe that's the new generation. Coach Gibbs didn't throw Gary out of the game, where these coaches now may would throw him out of the game for cussing him out, telling me he ain't Jack, not ready to play.
You know, John Gruden.
Go out and score 3 touchdowns. You're all right. Maybe that's the new coaching, but
They're not all treated the same. They are treated fairly. Let's put it
you know, if
treat everybody the same. Everybody's not the same.
But I tell you what, we're in this thing by saying no matter what, and he's not toast, but there's a lot of changes going to be coaches, players, everything. This whole year is just different. It's not just because of the pandemic, it's just because this is the way it is. Be back. Well, you know, we've talked about so many injuries and everything that's gone on this year and the changes, but now you got a new controversy out there talking about some of the coaches. You got one coach that would not get back on the plane, I guess, and ride home with his team. He was that angry. You got another coach that right now he's moving the team in the right direction, but his conversation's going in the wrong direction on some things that he said a few years ago. And I'm talking about the coach of the Los Angeles Raiders, Chucky himself.
Yeah, Raiders head coach. Yeah, John Gruden apologized for the 2011 email, and he said, he repeated it several times in the press conference. He said, I don't have an ounce of racism in me. I wished he'd looked up and said that rather than look down when he said that several times, but that's just me. But anyway, Las Vegas Raiders head coach John Gruden apologized Sunday after it was revealed in a Friday report from the Wall Street Journal that he used a racial trope in 2011 email describing NFL Players Association Executive Director Maurice Smith. Now, my only comment to this is Gruden was signed to a 10-year deal worth over $100 million. And everybody is saying right now he's somewhat of a disappointment in terms of his head coaching ability with the Raiders. He got lucky, won a Super Bowl down in Tampa because the defense was there. When he was out with the Raiders once before, he had good players. But my only point is, if I am the owner of the Raiders, this is an out for me. That after 4 years, this would be an out and save myself $60 to $70 million and bring in a new coach. This gives the coach, Mark the out to get rid of him. And I think if I were he, I would get rid of him.
It sounds good, Mike, but you know the fans would go wild now. They got a pretty good record. Look like they can win, even though they've lucked up and won a couple of games. They're still on the right path. So that would be kind of hard for him to do at this time. Plus, sometimes you have to say you listen to what people say, and they said it years ago, and you hope that they have changed within their heart. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's not that real important, I don't think, right now to break up the possibility of them having a good team this year. So I think it'll be people talk about it like we're talking about it now, but at the same time, it's not real top page news to me because everybody has said things in rooms that they probably should not have said, but it's just hard when you're out there portraying being one person and then you're hearing them say something that you may have said at another time.
Can I ask you about the Dallas Cowboys? Giants, Saquon Barkley's out, ankle, Jones is out, Daniel Jones. They beat him up, Tony. The Cowboys beat up the Giants, literally beat him up. And it was the 1-year anniversary of Dak's injury, and he said he was glad that he was over it. Are the Cowboys for real my second favorite team?
Hear that?
Wait a minute. Whoa. Mike. Tony.
Who comes out, Mike?
We got audio problems or something.
This is that my second favorite.
Look, he gave everybody on the team an F today, and then he told me that Dallas is his second favorite team.
Exactly.
Mike.
You know what? We better not sleep Dallas. Right?
They legit. They're legit.
Looking around the league, and have you seen any other NFC team that look any better than Dallas? Have you seen any quarterback that look as good as Dak?
And the sleeper here is, remember their defense from a year ago? That's not the same defense as they got well quick. And it does help that he's playing good football right now. Dak is playing good football right now, but that defense is legit too.
But they knew what they needed to do. They went their first 7 or 8 picks, I think, were all defensive players.
All defensive players, right.
And Micah Parsons.
Their cornerback that they drafted is the real deal. I think he's had picks this far in 5 weeks. But you talk about Dallas, but let's look at Arizona. When you look at the Cardinals, they are playing pretty solid too. Only undefeated team in the NFL, I think, right now.
All right. Yeah, Donna, no question about that. And we're going to talk about them in the picks this week because everybody picked Arizona last week. But you've got the breast cancer awareness logo over your shoulder. You have a foundation. You've done so much in the Washington metropolitan area for breast cancer awareness. You have all these things. You are one of the heroes in the Washington metropolitan area and nationwide, and including the wonderful book that you wrote. Tell us about what's going on with this football team and with breast cancer awareness.
Mike, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is October, and in Sunday's game, it was all about Think Pink.
The message is clear. It takes all of us to tackle cancer. It was the NFL's crucial catch game as the Washington football team took on the New Orleans Saints. 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. Sunday, it was all about honoring 30 all-star survivors who has or have had breast cancer. Tanya Snyder and the Washington football team continued a long-standing tradition of promoting Think Pink. Over 900 ribbons have been distributed at FedEx Field to date.
Early detection does save lives. And most people don't realize that men get breast cancer too. And it's important to know your family history in combating this disease.
Yeah, Richard Roundtree, the guy that but the quarterback told me I look like his daddy. He had he's asked favors actually. He had it. So that's very important. And you know, Donna, you step up for this every year, and you're doing a great job around, not here, but around the country. We thank you for it as well.
Yes.
Tony, you
now
have
we only got a few minutes, Mike.
You have a minute and a half to say why you're in second place behind Donna, Tony.
Because you cheated me. We were tied last week. We were tied last week.
The pencil is back.
The
pencil is back.
No. Yeah, she picked the Chargers and you picked Cleveland, Tony. There was the difference, buddy. And the
I don't know.
roll. Well, they didn't roll, but they beat them.
Oh, she went 4-4. I went 4-1. She went 5-0.
Well, it looks that way,
That
Tony.
would be correct.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Okay, can I ask you about we have only about a minute left, one of the toughest games. What do you think? Donna mentioned Arizona at Cleveland. What do you guys think?
I look at Cleveland again, and I look at it for 2 or 3 different ways. I know we only got a minute, so I'm going to say Cleveland got a very good running game, and Arizona, I'm going to have to deal with the kind of weather they got in Cleveland this time of year.
And then Minnesota at Carolina. That is an interesting game, isn't it?
It just depends on what Minnesota, which one's going to show up, right, guys?
Yeah.
Right.
And we're going to see if there's a letdown by the Raiders when they go into Denver. If they lose 2 in a row, they got problems with their coach. Yeah.
Well, they lucked up and won 2 in a row, and with this going with that coach, I look at them to lose. Yeah, they're going to lose.
Teddy
Okay.
Bridgewater is out.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Tony, whenever you're ready.
All right, well, it's time for us to wrap it up. And I tell you what, we do not want to come back here next week talking about what they should have done and what they did. We want another team to go out and say, boy, these Washington people are good. Until that time, we'll keep the same personnel, but I'm going to tell you what, some of us are on the hot seat, and especially the person that said the defense is the fault, the offense didn't play well. Think about it.